All right, strap yourselves in, because today we're going deep into the world of Naomi Wolf.
Ooh, yeah.
You know her, right? Feminist author,
Right.
political consultant. Or maybe you just know her for all the controversies lately.
Yeah.
So is she like a visionary leader, or just really good at, pulling the wool over people's eyes? Big question.
Yeah.
That's what we're trying to figure out today. We've got articles, research, even some stuff from Wolf herself.
Oh, wow.
We're going to see if she's truly gifted
Okay.
or just a master grifter.
Interesting. What gets me about Wolf is how she's like this walking contradiction,
Yeah.
On the one hand, brilliant mind,
Yeah.
captured like the whole mood of the time with the beauty myth.
Huge book.
Huge. Started such an important conversation about the pressures on women.
Oh, for sure.
But then on the other hand, let's just say she's not always strict with the facts.
Right.
And that's landed her in some hot water.
Yeah. And let's not forget, she's been right there in the halls of power, consulting for both Bill Clinton and Al Gore.
Wow.
I mean,
not just
anyone gets a whisper in the ears of presidents. You know
exactly. And that's key to understanding her whole, path, right?
Mm-hmm.
She wasn't content just writing about feminist theory.
Right.
She wanted to shape policy, elections, really be a power player.
Okay, so let's back it up a bit.
Yeah.
Naomi Wolf,
Okay.
born 1962, graduates from Yale, studies at Oxford.
Impressive.
Already you can see the ambition, right?
Yeah.
The brains.
Totally.
But even then, she's running into the same stuff she'll later fight against.
Like what?
Sexism.
Right.
Even anti-Semitism.
That stuff.
Yeah, and I think being exposed to that discrimination, especially at those elite places, it really fueled her,
Oh, I bet.
I think it planted the seeds for that distrust of the establishment that we see later on.
Interesting.
And then boom, the beauty myth drops in 1991.
That book was huge.
I mean, a cultural phenomena.
For sure.
A bestseller.
Yeah.
But even then, there were some, cracks starting to show.
Really. The beauty myth was a game changer. Totally.
Yeah.
Wolf's argument, right, was that these beauty standards, they're a tool, to keep women
keep them insecure.
Exactly. Subservient. It really hit home for a lot of young women who felt suffocated by those expectations.
Totally. But some critics, even those who agreed with the main message, they pointed out some problems with her numbers.
Oh, interesting.
Like she said, 150,000 women were dying from anorexia every year in the U.S.
Wow.
Which was way off.
Really?
The real number was much lower.
That's a big difference. See, this is what's so fascinating about Wolf and so tricky.
Yeah.
Did she, pump up those numbers on purpose?
Right.
For dramatic effect?
You can make a point.
Or was it an honest mistake? Hard to say.
Yeah.
But it does make you wonder about how thorough her research was, even back then.
It's like her critics were saying, okay, we get it, but where's the proof?
Right. Exactly.
And that tension between, powerful arguments and shaky evidence that's going to keep coming back in her career.
It's like she's more into telling a good story than sticking to the facts.
Right. So we've got early success, but also these, red flags popping up.
Mm-hmm.
And then she jumps right into politics.
It's first.
Yeah, she becomes this political consultant.
Oh, wow.
Advising Bill Clinton on how to win over women voters during his 1996 campaign.
Think about that.
I know, right?
A feminist author.
Yeah.
Shaping the strategy for a president.
Real influence.
Pure power.
And she wasn't just, writing speeches.
Yeah.
She was pushing for actual policy changes.
Like what?
Like family-friendly workplaces, more access to childcare.
Making a real difference.
Yeah, she was trying to take her feminist ideas and turn them into, concrete action.
But even then,
I know. What is it with this one?
Controversy wasn't too far behind.
Oof.
When she worked for Al Gore in 2000, there were these allegations about unequal pay.
Oh, right.
Wolf said she was getting paid way less than the guys.
Oh.
Bringing that whole debate about the gender pay gap right back to the forefront.
It's like wherever Wolf goes, drama follows.
Success, influence, and then bam,
It's a scandal.
Another one.
It's a pattern.
And it's just going to get more intense as her career goes on.
Oh,
She kept writing books, but the criticism got louder.
Really?
Not just for factual errors,
What else?
Some people thought she was getting too sensational, you know.
Provocative.
Yeah, like she was pushing buttons just to push them.
You're talking about books like Fire with Fire.
Yes.
Promiscuity.
That one too.
The End of America.
Exactly.
Yeah, those definitely got people talking.
They tackled important stuff.
For sure.
Female empowerment,
Yeah.
sexual liberation, threats to democracy.
Big topics.
But they also had these sweeping generalizations, questionable interpretations of history.
So not very nuanced.
Not really. It was like she was trying to squeeze complex issues into these neat little boxes, you know?
Oversimplifying things.
Yeah, kinda.
So are you saying she was, like, sacrificing accuracy for impact?
That's the big question hanging over her whole career, right?
That's right.
Was she twisting the truth for her own benefit?
Right.
Or did she really believe what she was saying, even when the facts didn't really add up?
That's a tough one.
It is.
And to figure that out,
Yeah.
we need to talk about what might be the most important moment in her career.
Okay.
The whole controversy around her book, Outrageous.
Oh, yeah, that was a big one.
But before we get into that,
Yeah.
let's take a quick break.
Sounds good.
All right, so Outrageous.
Yeah,
This was supposed to be like her big masterpiece, right?
it was.
Her doctoral thesis at Oxford.
Mm-hmm.
A deep dive into homosexuality and censorship in Victorian England.
Heavy stuff.
But it turned into a total disaster.
Oh, yeah.
What happened?
Outrageous is so interesting because it's like all of Wolf's strengths and weaknesses just come crashing together.
Like a train wreck.
Kinda, yeah. You see her brilliance, right? Like she's a great storyteller.
Yeah.
She can take these historical threads and weave them into this captivating narrative.
Yeah, she's a good writer.
But then she also has this tendency to jump to conclusions.
Right.
To see what she wants to see in the evidence.
Instead of what's really there.
Exactly.
And it all blew up in her face during a BBC radio interview.
Oh, I remember that.
This was in 2019.
Yeah.
She was on with this historian, Matthew Sweet,
Right.
and he starts pointing out these huge errors in her book.
Oh, man. Sweet had actually gone back and read the original trial records that Wolf was using.
Oh, wow.
And he realized she had totally misunderstood some key legal terms.
Like what?
Like, she thought the phrase death recorded meant an execution had happened,
Okay.
but it actually meant the opposite.
Wait, what?
Yeah, it meant the judge had decided to spare the guy's life.
So she got it completely backwards.
Totally.
Hold on. So she built this whole argument
Mm-hmm.
on a misunderstanding of, like, a legal term.
Pretty much.
It's unbelievable.
It was a huge mistake.
Yeah.
It completely undermined her whole argument.
So what was her argument?
She was saying that all these men had been executed for being gay in Victorian England,
Okay.
but actually they hadn't been.
They were pardoned.
They were given clemency.
Wow. And this wasn't just some, obscure academic paper.
No, definitely not.
Outrageous was published by a major publisher.
Right.
It was marketed to everyone.
Yeah, that's what made the fallout so bad. Her UK publisher, Virago.
Yeah.
They actually pulped the whole print run of the book.
Pulped.
Destroyed it.
Whoa.
It's rare. Usually only done for plagiarism or libel.
That's intense.
Yeah.
I remember this being, like, everywhere in the news.
Oh, yeah, it was huge.
Talk about embarrassing.
Big time.
What about the U.S. edition?
Yeah.
Did that get pulled too?
At first, the U.S. publisher,
Which was?
Houghton Mifflin Harcourt,
Okay.
they delayed the release.
To investigate, I guess.
Yeah, to look into the problems people were pointing out.
Right.
But then they just canceled it altogether.
Wow. So Outrageous was basically erased.
Yeah, pretty much.
That must have been devastating for Wolf.
Oh, I'm sure it was.
Did she, like, admit she messed up?
At first, she tried to defend her work.
Really?
Yeah, said her interpretation was valid.
Mm.
But as more historians started weighing in,
Against her?
yeah,
And the evidence piled up.
she finally admitted she was wrong.
Sounds like she was forced into it.
Kinda.
It must have really hurt her credibility.
It definitely damaged her reputation.
It's like she just couldn't admit she was wrong until she absolutely had to.
Yeah, that's a pattern we see with her.
Really?
Yeah, she's smart, articulate,
Hmm.
but she seems to have a blind spot when it comes to her own mistakes.
It's interesting. Outrageous seems like a real turning point in her career.
How so?
It's like after this, her distrust of authority just explodes.
Yeah, you're right.
Like she doubles down on it.
There's a definite shift after Outrageous.
Hmm.
She gets even more outspoken.
Even more willing to challenge the mainstream.
Even if it means, like, embracing conspiracy theories.
And that brings us to, I think, the most controversial part of her story.
Yeah.
Her whole dive into COVID misinformation.
Oh boy, yeah. This is where things get really messy.
Yeah, it's hard to wrap your head around.
I know, right?
You've got Wolf, the feminist icon,
Mm-hmm.
who challenged all these norms.
Yeah.
And then she turns into this, like, self-proclaimed COVID truther.
Spreading all this questionable stuff about the virus and the vaccines.
Yeah, it's a total 180 from her earlier work on women's health and, bodily autonomy.
It's pretty jarring.
For sure.
And it's important to say, all these claims,
Yeah.
they've been debunked over and over again.
By, like, actual experts.
Doctors, scientists, fact checkers.
There's just no scientific basis for what she's saying.
None whatsoever.
But she doesn't seem to care about evidence anymore.
Or scientific consensus.
It's like she's built her own reality.
Yeah.
Where she's the only one who knows the truth.
And everyone else is like part of the conspiracy.
Exactly.
And unfortunately, she finds an audience.
Yeah, I guess in a world where people are already distrustful.
Of institutions, of the media.
Yeah.
Wolf's message really resonates.
It's scary.
It is.
So she gets kicked off Twitter.
Spreading misinformation.
Right. Does that, like, slow her down at all?
Nope.
Really?
Not even a little.
What would she do?
She actually uses it to her advantage.
Oh.
She makes it part of her story.
Like the victim narrative.
Exactly. She's being silenced, censored by the powers that be.
Because she's speaking truth to power.
That's it. Classic conspiracy theorist tactic.
It's a good way to shut down any criticism.
Any fact-checking.
Right.
Any attempt to challenge her.
Because it's all just proof of the conspiracy.
Exactly.
It's hard to argue with that.
It is. It's very effective.
So where does she go after Twitter?
Well, she doesn't disappear.
I didn't think so.
She actually starts showing up on platforms known for promoting this kind of stuff.
Conspiracy theories.
Conspiracy theories, misinformation, the whole 9 yards.
Like where? Give me some examples.
Like Steve Bannon's War Room podcast.
Oh, wow.
Tucker Carlson's show on Fox News.
Those were some big platforms.
They are.
And not exactly known for, balanced reporting.
Let's just say they're not exactly sticking to journalistic standards.
So she's basically finding an audience that already agrees with her.
That's primed to believe her, no matter what.
And it's not just online stuff.
What do you mean?
She starts having real-world consequences.
Oh, right.
Remember when she got asked to leave that restaurant in New York?
Because she wouldn't follow their vaccine policy.
Yeah, that's a perfect example of how her words, translate into action.
It's not just talk anymore.
She turned a simple public health measure into this huge fight.
A personal crusade.
And then she encourages her followers to, harass the restaurant.
Leave bad reviews, try to ruin their business.
It's scary how much influence she has.
It is a bit unsettling.
It's like she's become this martyr for the anti-vaccine movement.
Yeah, using her platform to spread fear and mistrust.
And it's not just the U.S.?
Right, she was on a show in the U.K.
Yeah, GB News.
And she made these outrageous claims about the COVID vaccines.
Like what?
Comparing them to, Nazi Germany.
Seriously?
Yeah, it was a wild comparison.
It's way too far.
It was incredibly irresponsible.
Yeah.
And it actually got Ofcom involved.
Ofcom?
They're the UK's communications regulator.
Kind of like the FCC here.
Exactly.
So they make sure things are fair and accurate.
That's the idea.
So what did they do?
They investigated GB News.
Okay.
And they ruled that GB News had broken the rules.
For letting Wolf say those things.
Yeah, for not challenging her.
And for not providing context.
Right, for basically giving a platform to misinformation.
So there were actual consequences.
Oh, yeah. For the network, too.
It was a big deal. Really hurt their reputation.
Serves them right.
And it's a warning to other broadcasters.
About platforming this kind of stuff.
Exactly. It can backfire.
Okay, so we've seen how Naomi Wolf, the famous feminist author, has become this major figure in the world of conspiracy theories and misinformation.
It's a wild journey.
Full of contradictions and, unsettling turns.
It really makes you think.
Yeah, it does.
About truth. About the role of public intellectuals.
About the dangers of, unchecked information online.
Exactly.
But before we go too deep into all that,
Yeah.
let's take a moment.
Okay.
When we come back. We'll try to make sense of it all.
Right.
Is Naomi Wolf a grifter?
Hmm.
Is she gifted?
Good question.
A visionary or a villain?
Maybe a little bit of everything.
I guess that's for each of us to decide.
Is.
But hopefully, this deep dive has given you the tools to do that.
I hope so.
Stay tuned. Okay, so we've gone through a lot here.
Yeah, we have. Naomi Wolf's career is like a wild ride.
It really is.
Brilliance and blunders, intellectual curiosity, and, these fringe beliefs.
It's a lot to take in.
It's hard to, square the feminist icon who wrote The Beauty Myth with the COVID truther who compares vaccines to Nazi experiments.
He was a head-scratcher.
It's almost like we're talking about two different people.
Right. But I think there are some things that connect her earlier work to the more controversial stuff.
What do you mean?
Well, think about it.
Correct.
Wolf's early feminism.
Yeah.
It was all about challenging the dominant narratives.
Right.
Questioning the power structures that shape our lives.
Yeah, that was her whole thing.
It's a powerful idea.
It is.
And it can be, like, really liberating.
For sure.
But it can also be a slippery slope.
How so?
Well, are you saying that her early skepticism of authority led to her embracing conspiracy theories later on? It's not that simple, of course.
Right.
But I do think there's a connection. When you start questioning everything, it's hard to know where to stop.
Yeah, where to draw the line.
Exactly. And for Wolf, that line seems to have gotten really blurry.
It's like she went from questioning the patriarchy to questioning reality.
Right. And that's where it gets dangerous.
Yeah.
Because when you reject evidence and just go with your own interpretation of the world, you can end up in some dark places.
And she's not the only one.
You're right.
We're seeing this with a lot of public intellectuals.
Yeah, it's a trend.
They build their careers on challenging the status quo, and then they fall down these rabbit holes of conspiracy theories.
It's happening more and more.
I think the internet has a lot to do with it.
Yeah, social media especially.
Right. Anyone can build a following now.
Doesn't matter if you're an expert or not.
Or if what you're saying is true.
It's all about personality and storytelling.
So how do we know who to trust?
That's the million-dollar question.
Right. How do we tell the visionaries from the con artists?
It's tough.
Yeah.
No easy answer.
I guess that's why we're doing this deep dive.
I think it comes down to a few things.
Like what?
Critical thinking.
Yeah.
Evaluating your sources and being skeptical even of people you admire.
So we can't just believe everything we hear,
No.
even if it sounds good.
Or if it comes from someone we like.
Right. We have to question everything.
Dig deeper, look at the evidence.
Your own fact checkers.
That's it.
It's a lot of work.
It is, but it's important.
Yeah, especially now.
With so much misinformation out there.
It's hard to know what's real anymore.
Yeah, the lines are blurred.
So what's the final verdict on Naomi Wolf?
Tough one.
Grifter or gifted?
I don't know.
Visionary or villain?
I think that's up to each of us to decide.
Based on what we've learned.
Exactly. Weigh the evidence.
Consider the arguments.
And come to your own conclusions.
Well, I hope this deep dive has given you all the tools you need to do that.
Me too.
Remember.
Yeah.
Critical thinking is key.
Our most powerful weapon against misinformation.
So, stay curious.
Stay skeptical.
And keep asking questions.
That's how we learn.
And on that note, we'll leave you to ponder the mystery of Naomi Wolf.
The enigmatic Naomi Wolf.
And the challenges of navigating this world of information overload.
It's not easy.
But we're all in this together.
We are.
So until next time, keep those minds sharp.
And those BS detectors on high alert.
See you next time.
Bye.